Welcome to Preservation Oaks, the podcast where we invite you to step away from the bustle of everyday life. Settle in and relax, and take a moment to leave the familiar behind as we explore the hidden gems of America that preserve our cultural past. We call them our Preservation Oaks, and with each episode, we'll journey to a different corner of the country, where we'll discover the unique histories, landscapes, and communities that make up our nation. We'll visit with local museums, historical and genealogical societies. They are the stewards of these stories. They preserve the legacy of each place like precious pieces of fabric in a quilt that binds the freedom-loving, hardworking people in this country together. So, slow down, grab a beverage, open your mind, and let us take you on a tour of the fascinating histories and heartfelt traditions that lie just beyond the horizon. This is Preservation Oaks, where every story is a stitch in the fabric of our shared culture. Now, join our host, Sean Radcliff, as he uncovers another thread in the tapestry of America's heritage and what it takes to preserve it.
Hello there, and welcome to Preservation Oaks, the podcast where we explore family history stories, preservation efforts, and the unexpected ways history is still being written. I'm your host, Sean Radcliff, coming to you from eclectic Salt Lake City, Utah, where snow-capped peaks watch over the valley, the Great Salt Lake shimmers with desert light, and the stories of pioneers, miners, dreamers, and trailblazers echo through every canyon. This city is home to some of the nation's most extraordinary family history archives, world-renowned genealogy resources, and a thriving community of history-minded explorers. It's a place where world-class outdoor adventure meets a vibrant arts and food scene, where street art and coffee culture flourish, and where nearly every corner holds a story waiting to be told. Enough history to keep any family historian happily busy for a lifetime. This season thus far, we've received 264 inches of snow in the mountains of Utah, which is about 68% of normal. It's been a drier than usual winter, but we're okay, and next season will be much better. Today we're diving into a topic that is rapidly changing the way family historians work: DNA disruption. Those moments when the results from a DNA test rewrite long-standing family narratives. For generations, families built their histories from letters, photographs, courthouse records, and stories passed down around the dinner table. But today, a small vial and a simple cheek swab can challenge everything we thought we knew. What happens when the documents say one thing, the family lore story says another, and the DNA says something else entirely? In this episode, we'll explore how genetic genealogy tools are uncovering new evidence, how those discoveries can validate and sometimes overturn existing research, and how these disruptions can open the door to entirely new paths of understanding about where we come from. If you have questions or comments about today's episode, or if you'd like to share your own family history DNA surprise, please email us at preservationoaks@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying the show, please like it, follow it, comment, and subscribe. You can find Preservation Oaks on all major podcast platforms from Podbean to Spotify to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and many others. This is Preservation Oaks, episode 120, DNA Disruption, when test results rewrite family narratives. Okay, let's get started. So let's start with the simplest question. What do we mean by DNA disruption in family history work? Well, you've done archival research, you've built trees, you've talked to relatives, then you order a DNA test and suddenly things don't line up. For example, you expected two people to share a common ancestor, but the DNA doesn't show it. Or you discover a previously unknown biological relationship. That moment of revelation can upend your assumptions. In this episode, we'll walk through how genetic genealogy works in plain language, how it can improve or extend your research, how it can disrupt the family history narratives you thought were settled, and how you can respond when it does. There are many positive ways DNA enhances genealogy, and DNA can improve and validate one's research. For example, it helps you connect with distant cousins you might never have found via documents alone. It can help break through genealogical brick walls, where the paper trail disappears or is ambiguous, by giving you a biological clue. It can test your assumptions. You may think person A is the child of person B, but your DNA match cluster suggests otherwise. And then you go back to the archives, to deeds, wills, probate, migration records, and maybe discover a missing marriage or adoption. In other words, DNA doesn't replace historical research. It augments it. The best genealogists combine both. When used carefully, DNA can improve the accuracy of your family tree and reduce the risk of perpetuating unverified connections. Now let's break down the DNA basics. Most people are already very familiar with these, but just in case you're not, I'll quickly summarize. When you send off a DNA test to one of the major companies, what you're doing is providing a sample, usually a cheek swab or saliva. That sample is processed and compared to the DNA of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people. The company finds matches, people you share DNA with above a certain threshold. That tells you that you and the matched person share a common ancestor somewhere. From there, you explore their tree, your tree, and look for the link. There are different types of DNA useful in genealogy. There's autosomal DNA, which you inherit from all ancestral lines, though it gets diluted in each generation. There's Y-DNA, which follows the male surname line. And finally, there's mitochondrial DNA, which comes from the maternal line. The most common DNA results used by family researchers and professional genealogists today is autosomal DNA. Once you have matches, you build clusters of people who share DNA with you and each other. You compare how much shared DNA, measured in centimorgans, that you have. The more you share, the closer the relationship tends to be. Then you interpret how that matches your documented family tree. So far, so good. The tool is powerful. But this is where disruption sometimes enters the picture. Disruption arises when the DNA does not match your expectations. For example, you expected to share DNA with a known cousin, but you don't. You discover a close match whose tree doesn't connect to your tree at all. Your tree says one lineage, but the DNA suggests another. A high-level anomaly, an unexpected parent, a hidden adoption, a non-paternity event, sometimes called NPE, or simply a previously unknown branch. Now here's a scenario. Imagine this. You've worked for years, maybe your entire adulthood, building the Smith family tree. You've tracked them through wars, migrations, marriages, land deeds, baptisms. You have citations so beautiful they could make a historian weep. Then one ordinary afternoon, your DNA results land in your inbox. You expect your cousin, the one who shares your second great-grandparents, to match around 700 cm. The result? 150 cm, or nothing. Nothing. It's like hearing a family song suddenly hit a sour note. Your mind snaps to attention. Why, that can't be right. But the more you look, the more the ground beneath your tree starts to move. You start asking, did my cousin test at the same company? Was the kit activated? Is this a labeling error? Was there an undocumented adoption? A remarriage nobody talked about? A child born out of wedlock? A secret kept so tightly that everyone who knew took it to the grave? You dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's when you begin to understand just how wonderful, how powerful, and how disruptive DNA can be. Now let's take a quick break to learn from Diana Crisman Smith from the Genealogy Lab.
Welcome to the Genealogy Lab, where curiosity meets discovery. Here's professional genealogist Diana Crisman Smith, a seasoned explorer of family histories, uncovering the evidence that connects us across generations. Diana opens the lab doors, and inside her lab, she'll share quick tips, cool discoveries, and smart tools to help you map out your roots like a pro. So, grab your notebooks. It's time to enhance your research with this segment of the Genealogy Lab.
Welcome to the Genealogy Lab. Pull up a chair and join me for a bit of curiosity and discovery. As we're looking at the pieces of information we have accumulated in our research, it's sometimes helpful to have another way to look at it. A new perspective can often provide new insights or hints. I find timelines to be very helpful for this. Looking at facts individually is okay, but seeing them in some kind of context is always better. And since our lives take place in chronological order, that's often the best way to view the events. A timeline doesn't need to be fancy or use special software. It can be handwritten or drawn, created using a spreadsheet program or a word processing program, or even a graphics program, whatever you are comfortable using. I generally create my timelines either in Excel or Word, since I use both programs daily. I like using the computer because then I can save the file and add to it as I find information. I can sort it in various ways, and I can have multiple columns with various details. Your timeline can be for one person or a family. I've done both. If I'm doing a family, one column is for the individual. Then I have columns for the date, event type, place, source of the information, and any other details I want to capture, such as other people mentioned in the source. If it's for an individual, I may not need the name column, since I know who it's about. The other columns are usually the same or similar. What do I mean by using timelines to solve puzzles? If you can't find a record for a person when and where you expect, a timeline may help you determine whether you're actually looking for the right place. As people move around, we sometimes lose track of them. A timeline may help point out when or where they might have gone. For example, if there's a record for a family in 1840 Ohio, and nothing more has been found until 1860 in Colorado, that's a pretty big gap, and they were probably not in Ohio all that time. They were probably not even in Colorado all that time. But with this information, I would look for them in Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, and Nebraska during that time. They may be somewhere else, but those are likely places to start. Then you can add other family members, siblings, parents, grown children, cousins, to a timeline to provide hints. For example, the family mentioned before in Ohio in 1840 and Colorado in 1860 might have a family member who appears in 1850 in South Dakota. That's another place to check. I often find my MIA, missing in action people this way. You might also want to add historical events to your timeline. If they lived in Cambria County, Pennsylvania in 1889, you might want to look there to see what happened there in 1889. That was the infamous Johnstown flood on May 31st. That might have a big influence on why somebody left Cambria County, Pennsylvania after that flood. Look for events anywhere near them that might have influenced their activities and movements. For more information on using timelines, here are some resources I found very helpful. The Family Search Wiki has timelines for various countries and historical events for localities. These can be very helpful to add to your timeline, like the Johnstown flood. And don't forget to Google genealogy timelines for similar terms. Also, Cindy's List has a topic for timelines, which includes samples, historical events, locality or ethnicity-specific timelines, and much more. Remember, placing people at a time and place is the first step to understanding what they were doing. A timeline can help you get to that answer. Well, that's it for today. Join me for the next Genealogy Lab as we explore cluster research and the fan club method. Stay curious. This is Diana Crisman Smith, and I'll see you from the lab next time.
You've been inside the Genealogy Lab with Diana Crisman Smith, where every clue, every record, and every story brings us one step closer to knowing who we are. Stay curious and stay tuned for more from Preservation Oaks.
Well, there you are. Welcome back. Let's get going. We're so glad you're back. Welcome. Now, on with the program.
So let's look at a few real-world examples of DNA disruption. Here's case 1, the Clancy family, when the paper trail was incorrect. This is a real case, documented by Blaine Bettinger, known as the genetic-genealogist. She's one of the most respected genetic genealogists in the field. Our source for this is found at the genetic-genealogist.com, and it's entitled A DNA Case Study Revealing a Misattributed Parentage Event. A researcher had traced the Clancy family surname back for generations, supported by parish records, ship lists, civil registrations, everything. But when multiple descendants took DNA tests, one thing became clear. The biological clusters didn't match the documented paternal line. Cousins who should have matched didn't. Matches that should have existed were absent. After meticulous analysis, the evidence pointed to a misattributed parentage event in the late 1800s. This meant the entire paternal surname line, the one etched into family Bibles, engraved on tombstones, was genetically inaccurate. An entire identity rewritten. Now here's case 2, the We're French identity shakeup. This case was posted on the Baylor College of Medicine blog network, and the blog entry was entitled, When DNA Ancestry Tests Reveal Something Surprising. Another family, their whole life, believed they were Portuguese on their father's side. Food, traditions, holidays, the stories passed down had deep roots. Then 3 siblings took DNA tests. The results? French. Significantly French. Almost no Portuguese markers at all. You can imagine the family dinner that night. So we're French? And beneath the jokes, there was something real. A shifting identity, a cultural reset, a profound rethinking of who they were. DNA didn't just adjust their tree, it changed the way they saw themselves. One last case is sourced from the MDPI journal Genealogy and is entitled DNA Testing and Identities in Family History Research. This peer-reviewed research in the journal Genealogy notes that DNA testing can expand and disrupt long-held notions of identity. In other words, even when your records are right, your understanding may still be incomplete. This article explains that DNA disruption isn't rare. It states, and I quote, using information processing, 1/3 of the respondents saw a shift in their identities as a result of their DNA finding. This is a significant proportion. 45% of the respondent group who reported surprises in their DNA results. The largest reported surprise was the extent of their ethnic groups. Respondent 160 claimed that they have a lot more ethnicities than I expected. And respondent 849 said, no German? My paternal grandfather's family all came from Germany, but I'm not German at all. This appeared to be confronting for many, and as respondent 521 explained, quote, all my life I've identified as TSI, which is a Torres Strait Islander, when in fact the DNA reports Melanesian. It's caused me a great reframing of my belief and family's beliefs. Clearly, DNA testing is a powerful catalyst for the realignment of biological inheritances with ancestral narratives. Before we move on, it's worth pausing for a moment to recognize something important. DNA discoveries are not just research findings. They can be deeply personal moments for families. A surprising match might reveal an unknown sibling, an adoption that was never discussed, or a parent who was not who everyone believed. For some people, that discovery can bring excitement and new connections. For others, it can bring confusion, grief, or difficult conversations. Researchers studying direct-to-consumer DNA testing have found that identity shifts are a real and sometimes emotional experience for people exploring their genetic history. So when these discoveries appear, the most important tools are not just analytical skills, but patience, empathy, and respect for the people whose lives are connected to those results. Because behind every DNA segment is not just data, it's a person, and often an entire family story waiting to be understood. Now, continuing from the same report, it says, other surprises were most often reported as finding an unknown family. For example, respondent 799, quote, discovered a cousin that was given up for adoption that the family had no idea of, unquote, while others confirmed familial links. A small percentage claimed that their DNA test didn't support their family history research, as respondent 302 explained. I started to see a total lack of links to families of some of my paper trail ancestors, or that the results bore little relationship to our known and proven family history or research. Some rejected the results of the DNA test. The test showed I had Scottish ancestry, which is wrong, said respondent 222. So when we talk about DNA disruption, we're not talking about a glitch or a little mistake. We're talking about that moment when science gently taps you on the shoulder and says, your story isn't wrong, but it isn't complete either. It's a plot twist, a cliffhanger, a new chapter you didn't know existed. DNA disruption doesn't destroy your family tree. It deepens it. It expands it. It makes it more honest and more human. For younger genealogists, and for anyone new to this field, this is where genealogy becomes thrilling. Your DNA results aren't just data. They're mysteries. They're quests. There are secret chapters in your family's story waiting to be unlocked. And when disruption comes, that isn't the end. It's the beginning of a better, truer, richer narrative. Now, how does one respond to a DNA surprise? What do you do when one of these lands in your lap? Well, here's your roadmap. Number 1, pause before you panic. A mismatch doesn't mean your whole tree collapses. Start small. Then verify the basics. Is it the same company, the same account, the same kit number? Map your matches. Group your matches. Identify clusters. Note shared segments. Recheck your records. Return to the archives with fresh eyes. Look for missing marriages, informal adoptions, second families, surname shifts. Form new hypotheses. Let the evidence tell the story, not assumptions. Communicate with family gently. Research shows DNA surprises can have emotional impacts. Document the update. Future generations will thank you. And keep an open mind. Some mysteries stay mysterious, and that's okay. All right, now you're ready. Oh, and if you haven't tested yet, or haven't encouraged your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, well, this is your sign. Test, upload, compare, cluster, explore. DNA doesn't replace genealogy. It elevates it. So let's sum it all up. DNA is reshaping the future of family history. It validates, it corrects, it surprises, and sometimes it changes everything. If you've ever had a DNA surprise or want to share your experience, email us at preservationoaks@gmail.com.
A beautiful day for baseball here in St. Louis. The 7th game of the 1964 World Series. The Yankees, who clinched the American League pennant the day before the season ended, the Cardinals, who clinched it on the last day, now battle here in the seventh game. And it'll be Bob Gibson pitching for the Cardinals. And for the Yankees, Mel Stottlemyre will be the pitcher. Gibson against Stottlemyre on a perfect afternoon for baseball.
Yankees battling back like they've been battling all year. The Cardinals battling to win this game like they've been battling all year. Two evenly matched ball clubs. 2 runs are in. Bobby Richardson, the man who has really been getting the base hits in this series, 13 of them. Time is called now. Once again, the bleacher fans leaning over the wall. And the announcement is made that the game will be stopped until they get off the wall. Bobby Richardson up there with 2 outs. 7-5. He's got to get on to get the big bomber Maris up there to tie and run. Bob Gibson, ready, delivers. It's low, ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes. Roger Maris kneeling on deck circle with that big bat in his hand. Waiting to get up there is Richardson. Takes a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. This ballpark just bulging with every pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Richardson waits. Gibson delivers. Swung on, popped up. Maxwell at second base. Calling for it. Makes the catch. The Cardinals win it. And this ballpark, complete bedlam. The final score is St. Louis 7, New York 5. And in a moment, we will review the highlights of the game for you.
And now a brief reflection here on Preservation Oaks. From time to time, we pause to consider how the traditions that shape American life have changed over the years, and what those changes might mean for the generations that follow. Today, a few thoughts on baseball and the cost of keeping a tradition alive. Baseball has long been called America's pastime. For generations of Americans, it was more than a game. It was part of the rhythm of life. A father and son playing catch in the yard. A summer evening with a radio on the porch. A Saturday afternoon at the ballpark with a hot dog and a scorecard. For over a century, baseball was something ordinary Americans could participate in. Not just watch, but be part of. And that distinction matters. In the early decades of the 20th century, ballparks were among the great gathering places of American civic life. Immigrant families newly arrived in cities like New York, Chicago, Boston, and St. Louis found themselves learning the language of the game alongside their neighbors. A strike, a walk, a double to the gap. It became a common vocabulary that helped people feel connected to a shared culture. The game reflected the country itself. During the Second World War, baseball continued while millions of Americans served overseas, providing a sense of normalcy at home. And in 1947, when Jackie Robinson stepped onto the field for the Brooklyn Dodgers, baseball helped lead the nation through one of the most important moments in the struggle for civil rights. The game has always mirrored the broader story of America. But baseball also survived because it remained close to the lives of ordinary people. You could afford to attend a game. You could hear it on the radio for free. You could follow your team every day of the summer. That accessibility mattered. It allowed the sport to become woven into family traditions and community memory. Many Americans can still recall their first game. The smell of the grass. The sound of the crowd rising as a fly ball arcs toward the outfield wall. The simple joy of sitting beside someone you love, sharing a few hours of summer. These moments may seem small, but small moments are often where culture lives. Today, however, the relationship between the game and its fans is changing. The cost of attending a major league game has risen dramatically over the years. For many families, a day at the ballpark has become a significant expense rather than an easy summer outing. At the same time, following a team throughout the season has become more complicated. Television contracts, streaming services, and regional broadcast arrangements mean that fans often need multiple subscriptions simply to watch their home team play. None of these developments happened overnight. They are the result of decades of changes in broadcasting rights, stadium economics, and the business structure of professional sports. And Major League Baseball remains a remarkable institution, one with deep history and a game that is still played beautifully by extraordinary athletes. But the question worth asking is a historical one. What happens to a tradition when it becomes difficult for ordinary people to participate in it? Historians often observe that cultural traditions survive when they remain accessible, when they are shared widely across communities and generations. When participation becomes limited, whether by cost, distance, or complexity, traditions sometimes begin to drift away from everyday life. People find other ways to spend their time, other rituals, other gatherings. And once a cultural habit fades, it can be very difficult to bring it back. This isn't simply a question about baseball. It is a question that applies to many parts of American life. Local theaters, county fairs, community museums, historical societies. All of these institutions depend on something very simple: the ability of ordinary people to take part. Baseball, perhaps more than any other sport, has always thrived on that kind of participation. A long summer season, a daily rhythm of games, generations following the same team year after year. It created a shared experience that stretched across decades. Grandparents, parents, and children all speaking the same language of the game. And that is what made baseball special. The hope, of course, is that the sport continues to find ways to remain close to the people who built its legacy. Because baseball is not only a professional league, it is also Little League diamonds, sandlots, and community parks across the country. It is fathers teaching children how to throw a curveball. It is scorecards kept in pencil. It is a radio broadcast drifting through an open window on a warm July evening. Those traditions still exist, and as long as they do, the spirit of the game remains alive. Perhaps the real lesson from history is this: great traditions endure when they remain connected to the lives of ordinary people. And if baseball continues to remember that truth, America's pastime may yet remain exactly what it has always been: a game that belongs to everyone. Baseball has always been more than numbers on a scoreboard or finances in a boardroom. It has been part of the story of American summers, a place where families gather, communities connect, and memories are made one inning at a time. It's a day at the ballpark, the slow, easy progress of a well-played game. Like the Mississippi River, rolling along. It's America. And like so many traditions we talk about here on Preservation Oaks, its future will depend on something simple but powerful: whether ordinary people can continue to take part in it. Because when traditions remain open to everyone, they endure. And when they endure, we all make history.
For many families, baseball wasn't just something you checked the score of the next day. It was part of daily life. In my own family, we followed the St. Louis Cardinals religiously. During the summer months, the games were always on, first on the radio and later on television. Voices like Harry Carey became part of the household rhythm. Dinner might be on the table, the windows open to a warm evening, and somewhere in the background, you could hear the broadcast drifting through the room. For us, and for millions of families across the country, baseball wasn't just entertainment. It was part of the fabric of family life. At its heart, baseball was always wonderfully simple. It was about being outside on a warm afternoon, playing by the rules, and having fun. No contracts, no streaming services, no complicated arrangements, just a field, a bat, a ball, and a group of people who wanted to spend a little time together enjoying the game. And sometimes the simplest traditions are the ones that matter the most. Thank you. That wraps up today's episode of Preservation Oaks. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, we welcome your questions, comments, and stories at preservationoaks@gmail.com. If you found value in this episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps us reach more people interested in family history and preservation. Hey, this is Sean Radcliff. See you all next time on Preservation Oaks. And until then, keep on giving and keep on living the good life.
You can visit at www.microstreamradio.com. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted by Microstream Radio. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, reproduced, copied, or used anywhere without the written permission of Microstream Radio. Preservation Oaks starring Sean Radcliff originates in Salt Lake City, Utah. Be sure to join us for our next episode on your favorite podcast platform. This is Sarah Suarez speaking. Preservation Oaks has come to you through the worldwide podcast platform Podbean, and our home is preservationoaks.podbean.com. Hopefully you found today's episode useful, informative, and thought-provoking. If so, please like, follow, comment, and/or subscribe. Remember that being free means being free to be curious, and that historical and genealogical societies and museums allow us to discover the past, be free to explore, where curiosity opens every door. Thanks to everyone for listening. Stay cozy, curious, and keep exploring the incredible stories that shape our world. Remember to cherish and support the preservation of history in your own communities. The content of this program is provided for educational and informational purposes only. Some material included in this program may be copyrighted by third parties. However, under Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act, the doctrine of fair use allows the limited use of copyrighted material without requiring permission from the rights holders when used for purposes such as education, criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. These uses are legally permitted even if they might otherwise constitute infringement. If you wish to use copyrighted material from this program for purposes beyond fair use, you must obtain permission from the copyright owner. If you believe your copyrighted material has been used in this program in a way that does not qualify as fair use, please contact us at preservationoaks@gmail.com. Thank you.